Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm your host, Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our video. The Week 3 USFL games are right around the corner, and I'm going to go over every single Week 3 USFL game and preview and predict who I think will win this week's games. Now, there's a lot of great action going on in the USFL. There's been some fantastic footballs we have started this season, but there's some really good Week 3 games on the docket. And to start out, we have the New Orleans Breakers and the Birmingham Stallions, a battle of two teams that are still undefeated at 2-0. In New Orleans last week, they won over the Houston Gamblers 38-31. That was a really good performance by New Orleans. McLeod Bethel Thompson has been one of the best quarterbacks in the USFL so far. He was 23-34 for 251 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. He had a really solid game coming on over from the Canadian Football League, and he's still having a lot of success. Wesley Hills at 18 carries for 110 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Sage Surratt had 121 receiving yards and a touchdown as well. So New Orleans offense is humming all around. They are putting up a lot of points through the air and on the ground, but unfortunately for New Orleans, their defense did allow 31 points to the Houston Gamblers. That is not ideal, but their offense is still really solid and could definitely help them win this game. But the biggest issue for the New Orleans Breakers is that this game is on the road at the Birmingham Stallions. This is in Birmingham, and Birmingham is one of the best crowds in any alternate football league. You look at the USFL and the XFL. Birmingham, the Stallions had the hub last year all to themselves, and the fan base has been growing and growing, and they are a loud and proud fan base. And last week, Birmingham made easy work of the Memphis Showboats, beating them 42-2. That was an unbelievable performance by the Birmingham Stallions, and still showing that they are the most dominant team in the USFL. Alex McGough, he was 21-28 for 301 yards and 4 touchdowns. He is playing some of the best football of any quarterback in the USFL as well, and he could potentially be playing even better than McLeod Bethel Thompson. He had 4 touchdowns last week, and he had some yards on the ground, and he's going to have to play well the rest of the season for Birmingham because Jamar Smith is out for the season, but Alex McGough is playing some really solid football. Zakondre White, he had 8 carries for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Jay Sternberger, a tight end that should be in the NFL. He is that good, and he definitely could be again after his performance that he is showing last week. He had 5 receptions for 127 yards and a touchdown. He is playing some solid football, and he is definitely a great target for Alex McGough. But I do think that the New Orleans Breakers, they'll have a shot to compete with Birmingham in this game on the offensive end, but I don't know if their defense is going to be able to slow down Birmingham. Birmingham's offense is too good, and the home crowd for the Birmingham Stallions should carry their team to victory. I'm going to go with the Birmingham Stallions to move to 3-0 and beat the New Orleans Breakers 35-21 on their own field in Birmingham, and I think they'll be able to continue to show their dominance in this league. Now, the next game, we have a battle going from 2 undefeated teams to now we're going to 2 winless teams. The Memphis Showboats, they are 0-2, and they are going to be playing the Houston Gamblers, who are also 0-2. And this game is in Memphis, but this is being counted as a home game for the Houston Gamblers, which is ironic and hilarious. The game's in Memphis, but the home team is going to be designated as the Houston Gamblers. I don't know how that makes any sense. It should be Memphis, but Memphis is going on the road to play in Memphis. But will it matter? I'm not sure, because last week, the Memphis Showboats got shellacked by the Birmingham Stallions 42-2. They play some awful football all around. Brady White, the hometown quarterback who played for the Memphis Tigers in college, he has not been playing some good football in the USFL so far. He was 15-25 for 141 yards and an interception last week. He really struggled against that Birmingham pass rush. Alex Collins had 11 carries for 37 yards, and Vinny Papelli had 5 receptions for 42 yards. But overall, Memphis' offense is not playing good football at all in any way, shape, or form. They cannot run the ball. They cannot throw the ball at a high level. Their defense is giving up a lot of points. Memphis could end up being the worst team in the USFL at the rate that they're playing right now. But if they're going to get a win, what better way can it be to be able to beat the also winless Houston Gamblers on Memphis' own field, even though, again, it is not a home game technically for Memphis because it's being designated for Houston. Houston last week, they lost 38-31 to New Orleans, so they played much better football than Memphis did last week. Houston is showing that they can be a competitive football team, almost beating the New Orleans Breakers last week. Kenji Bahar, he was 18-30 for 266 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He's definitely a quarterback that is turnover prone. He makes a lot of mistakes. He throws a lot of interceptions, but he can throw touchdowns at a high rate as well. He almost reminds me of the Ben DiNucci of the USFL. Ben DiNucci has a high turnover rate as well for the Seattle Sea Dragons, but he's definitely a quarterback that can throw a lot of touchdowns as well. But Kenji Bahar is playing solid, but he needs to cut down on that turnover rate. TJ Pledger at 18 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown, and Justin Hall at 110 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns last week for the Houston Gamblers. Houston overall looks like the better football team, and as long as they play a C+ game, they should easily get this win over the Memphis Showboats unless Memphis starts to show something that we have not seen before. I know Memphis is the new team going over from the Tampa Bay Bandits to the Memphis Showboats, but they are still playing some awful football all around, and they're going to have to play a lot better this week if they want to get their win on their own field. So I do think that they'll play a little bit harder in this game, but I'm still going to go with the Houston Gamblers to beat the Memphis Showboats 27-10. I think that even though Memphis will have the home crowd, Memphis is still really struggling overall, and I feel like Houston is finally going to get their first win of the USFL season. On to our next game, we have the Pittsburgh Maulers and the Philadelphia Stars, an in-state rivalry, but this game's being played in Detroit, Michigan. So you have an in-state rivalry, but it's not being played in Pennsylvania because of the hub system. So I don't think the crowd's really going to help either team very much. But the Pittsburgh Maulers, they're 0-2, and last week they lost 20-3 to the New Jersey Generals. If you don't think Memphis is the worst team in the USFL so far, it could be the Pittsburgh Maulers. They're not playing that well either. Troy Williams, he was 11-16 for 70 yards, but James Morgan wasn't that great as well. Neither quarterback is playing very well. Mondre London had 10 carries for 38 yards, and Isaiah Henney, he had 9 receptions for 63 yards. Overall, Pittsburgh's offense is not playing that well. Their defense, they did do a solid job holding New Jersey to only 20 points, but I don't think New Jersey's the greatest offensive team either. So Pittsburgh has definitely not been that impressive so far. Their offense is going to have to play a lot better if they want to beat the Philadelphia Stars, who they're 1-1, and Philadelphia lost last week, but they lost to the Michigan Panthers, who have been resurrected from the season that they had last year, only going 2-8, and now Michigan's 2-0 to start this season, so it's insane there what's going on. Philadelphia, they did lose last week, but losing 24-10 to Michigan might not be a bad loss there at all. Case Cookis, he was 29-44 for 283 yards and 2 interceptions. He had a solid game besides the picks, but the Michigan pass rush was really bothering him overall. But I still think Case Cookis is one of the better quarterbacks in the USFL because he is a guy that plays at a high level, and I really like his effort level overall. Matt Colburn, he had 9 carries for 20 yards and a touchdown, and Devin Gray had 8 receptions for 67 yards. The one thing Philadelphia is really struggling at right now is the fact that they're not running the football at a high level. They're not giving Case Cookis help, but I don't think Philadelphia is going to have to necessarily play their best game against the Pittsburgh Maulers to get this win, because Pittsburgh, their offense is really struggling. Neither quarterback in Troy Williams or James Morgan are that impressive. So as long as Philadelphia just plays an average game, they should get by in this game. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Stars to beat the Pittsburgh Maulers in this in-state rivalry 27-17 in Detroit, Michigan, for Philadelphia to move to 2-1, and unfortunately for the Pittsburgh Maulers to stay winless just like the Memphis Showboats. And now on to our last game. You have the Michigan Panthers and the New Jersey Generals. This could be a fantastic game here. I don't know if it'll be the game of the week. I still think that could potentially be New Orleans, Birmingham, especially if New Orleans gives Birmingham a game. But if there is going to be a game of the week besides that one, it's going to be this game between New Jersey and Michigan. New Jersey is 1-1, and last week they did beat the Pittsburgh Maulers 20-3 for their first win of the season. DeAndre Johnson, he was 9-13 for 100 yards. He's nowhere near as good as Louis Perez was last season for the New Jersey Generals, but DeAndre Johnson did play mistake-free football last week, and that is exactly what you want to see. He did not make any mistakes. He came in for Alex Prukop, who did have a pick for the New Jersey Generals, so DeAndre Johnson is playing better football. Darius Victor had 15 carries for 71 yards and a touchdown, and Cameron Escher-Looper, he had 4 receptions for 57 yards and a touchdown. So New Jersey's offense has been average. I don't think it's been great, but as long as DeAndre Johnson plays a mistake-free game, I think New Jersey can hang around in this game. But the issue is that you look at Birmingham being a team that could have a big fan support in this week's game for Birmingham because it's on their own field in their home city. You also have the Michigan Panthers playing in Detroit. This is on Ford Field, so Michigan could have a fairly good crowd here, and I think they'll be very energized to have their first home game in Detroit, and they have an undefeated team at that at 2-0, and last week they beat the Philadelphia Stars 24-10. They were very impressive last week. Josh Love, he was 15-30 for 174 yards and a touchdown. Josh Love has been playing some really good football in the USFL. He's not one of the best quarterbacks, I don't think, in this league because there's some really good quarterbacks playing at a high level, but I think he is in the upper half, at least the 3rd or 4th best quarterback in the USFL. Reggie Corbin had 11 carries for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a great game last week for the Michigan Panthers, and he definitely supplanted Stevie Scott in yards last week. Stevie Scott had more yards in week 1 for the Michigan Panthers, but this past week, Reggie Corbin was fantastic, and you also had Cole Hicatini at tight end. He had 3 receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. So overall, Michigan's defense is looking pretty good. Their offense is looking pretty good. I don't know if they're as good as the Birmingham Stallions or even the New Orleans Breakers. That will be determined when they do play those teams later on in the year, but Michigan, they are definitely a better team than they were last year. Cole Murphy, their kicker, has missed some field field goals. So Michigan, they do struggle in the field goal game, but as long as they play a really solid game and their defense, which has been playing much better this season than they did last year, if they're able to slow down the New Jersey Generals, then I think that the Michigan Panthers will stay undefeated and be able to beat the New Jersey Generals, who probably will not have enough offense in this game to get this win. I'm going to go with the Michigan Panthers to beat the New Jersey Generals 28-21 on their own field, and for the Michigan Panthers to move to 3-0. Now, those are the Week 3 USFL games. There should be a lot of great football action this week. Really looking forward to the games. I'm going with the Birmingham Stallions, the Houston Gamblers, the Philadelphia Stars, and the Michigan Panthers to all get wins this week. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think about these games and which teams you think will be able to find a way to win the Week 3 USFL games. What you think about my picks overall. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I will see you next time.